This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Handicappers Report alongside Jeff Carlisle and Anthony Mormino on this rainy Friday morning as hopefully the weather will, I guess, in our horse racing sense, only impact us directly, and hopefully we will be on the turf in New York and Kentucky. They were off the turf yesterday. We'll see how that goes. I do know one thing. Late last evening, I checked Churchill Downs' website. As I thought, they have really almost a two-part section to their scratches. The scratches for today were already up. I would call those, in the old days of Naira parlance, those were the early scratches off the program. There'll be more to come. Joe Rocco Jr. off of his mounts yesterday. The news for me, though, yesterday, twofold out of New York, out of Kentucky, was one is Ian Wilkes, a 1%er on first-time starters, not only won, but his horse was bet down off of a 12-1 morning line for a guy who was like 1 for 75, and he got bet down.
No, the word was out.
And the other, I mean, there's no other explanation, because I would have thought that the morning line was light. And secondly, and I don't know who this gentleman is. It may have been the gentleman in the winner's circle, but this Michael Cameron gentleman. I see. I'm not really into backstories in horse racing or any sports. I'm like, let's just play the game. But his tell a little secret, who was a 20-1 shot that won yesterday, who I would not have given you at the 3/8 pole. I would not have given you 200-1 on his runner. An incredible victory. But when I went back to, I've told this story before. When I watch races, I have a monitor of the race and I have the PPs, and I looked and I was like, this gentleman only had like 4 starters for the year. And then I looked down and I was like, well, tell a little secret is his only horse in the barn. Then I did some more research and found out that for like the last 5 years, he's had only 2 horses, and one of them only ran like 6 times. This is really his whole operation, and I noticed the unbelievable number of claiming races he ran that I'm sure word was out. No one was ever going to claim this horse from him. But this is one of the few backstories I would like to know, because if this man is full-time, and I think his other horse stopped running in 2010.
I would think he's not full-time.
I mean, what do you do? Just leave the horse there and come back 4 days later? No, he's still in the field. I'll go get him.
No, our colleague Seth Merrill refers to these as hobby horses. And I've when I was stabled in Maryland, in my barn next to me was a gentleman who had a normal job, but he didn't have to be to work till probably 9 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
He had one horse. Him and his wife would come in every morning. They would train the horse, and then he would go off to work, and he would pay somebody to kind of feed the horse in the afternoon and keep an eye on him. So, I mean, it's probably the same kind of situation where he probably has a normal job somewhere. He likes to dabble in the racing a little bit, and he got himself a victory yesterday. Good for him.
Well, this horse it's not a winning machine, and Churchill Downs is a bigger operation, but he's run this horse like 50, 60 times. I mean, he's around a lot, and it was rainy yesterday down at Churchill Downs. And I mean, I presume that it was Michael Cameron, the trainer. Now, the thing that I thought was funny was he's not the owner.
Well,
I mean, see, if he owned the horse, that would make sense, but you're like, so this guy says, I have a horse, he's out in the field. You want to go get him and train him?
He's probably not out in the field. He's probably at a training center somewhere, or he's stabled on the grounds. And you know, maybe the owner's a friend of his, and they've worked out some kind of arrangement where the owner purchased the horse, he takes care of his training expenses. They probably have some kind of deal where they split the proceeds. So, you know, not everybody is hardcore, but some people do like to just dabble.
Well, I hope they're bettors. And
yeah, that would be good.
Well, to me, I'd be like, I couldn't understand it if you weren't bettors. Like, I mean, not that they put a horse over at like $46 yesterday, but I'm like, I hope you bet. I'm like, but I suspect they didn't even know they were good yesterday. I mean, as I said, I wouldn't have given you 200 to 1. It was one of the most oddly run races. Also at Churchill, very odd yesterday. And I don't know if it was a function of the moisture of the racetrack, but how many winners on the dirt did you see who looked awful in the lane without changing leads? You see horses be very effective on the turf without changing leads. But on the dirt, it can usually be an Achilles heel, but it was just a parade of horses winning, horses who looked like they were never going to win without changing leads. And then you couple that with Ian Wilkes winning with a first-time starter. And this Michael Cameron, who's run 5 horses now this year and has a W. And all I could say is, I hope they bet yesterday in the 6th race and got out. But there you go. But the trainer-owner, those I understand is the hobby. I was shocked that he's not the owner. I'm like...
I would assume they have some kind of arrangement, but you're absolutely right. On the racetrack, you are not supposed to claim somebody's only horse. That's just the way it is. It's, in fact, it's been done several occasions where I've heard of people didn't know it was somebody's only horse.
Yeah, I mean,
and they end up giving the horse back to them.
Yeah, I mean, if you were, you just, what do I care about? I don't know their operation because
Right.
This guy probably isn't even around the track.
Yeah.
They're like, they don't even know who he is.
Yeah, I saw it many instances in Maryland where there was people that had normal jobs, but they like to have come in and do. There was another guy in my barn who actually worked for the racetrack in the money room, and he came in, would train a couple horses, then walk over to the front side.
There's a conflict of interest.
And well, he wasn't. He just handled some of the accounting and stuff, but he was allowed to do it, Anthony.
I'm
he
sure
was allowed to do it.
I'm like, he wouldn't be doing it on my track.
Well, we got 10 races to get through today at Churchill Downs. Let's start with the first race. It's 7 furlongs. It's a starter allowance for 3 and up, which have started for a claiming price of $5,000 or less in 2012 and 2013.
And here we go, 4, 6, and 1 in the opener, ladies and gentlemen. And Glenn gets my top pick, a Steve Asmussen runner now, owned and trained as they claim this horse for $5,000 in the September meet at Churchill Downs and just got beat at this level of starter allowance in the most recent effort. Ricardo Santana, he gets them out back after being aboard the neck defeat most recently for second number 6. Long Hammer, a popular horse at the claiming barn, and I like the 7 furlong effort on November 1. Did finish off the board, but a strong effort after a rough start and being extremely wide on the trend. And I mentioned at this meet at Churchill Downs, this the one we're used to, the November one, that I like to say that this wide on the turn hasn't been as detrimental and late to find the lead in the stretch. And I'm talking about dirt racing. Has been really a winning profile. Now, yesterday, with the moisture in the racetrack, I sort of throw that out the window and see what type of racetrack we get this afternoon. But for third, number 1, Hey Cuz, an interesting effort off of an August 10th freshening to finish off the board and finish 4th. As I looked at that 6 furlong sprint, to me, it just really had warm-up written all over it. Won't say practice so much as it was the 24th effort, but I think it was really just a real stretch your legs and we'll drop in for 7 furlongs, little softer effort today, but 4, 6, 1 in the opener.
Let's go to second race at Churchill Downs. It's 1 mile to maiden claiming event for 2-year-old fillies. They're in for a claiming price of $30,000 down to $25,000.
2-1-7. I spoke about it on Wednesday how I never realized how unstraight this 1 mile start was at Churchill Downs. And also yesterday, if you watched the racing, I'll tell you one thing, Jeff. It was to me, it was so close to problematic. In one of the route races on the dirt, the outrider was literally right in the path of the outside breaking horse. So I think it was like number 8. And luckily for him, the horse broke dead on straight. Jeff, if he had ever taken a right-hand turn out of the gate, there's no way it wouldn't have been an incident. I actually was watching it and going, well, it has to be the camera angle. There's no way he's in this path. And I think it was like the 6th race yesterday. But when I watched it, I was like, he barely missed the snout of the horse. I couldn't believe it. And at Churchill Downs, you can't run a straight line out of the inside. But Trick My Ride, loved the career debut at better than 50 to 1, came back at 45 to 1, ran worse. Now we get back in the 3rd career start, which is one of my favorite angles. And I've talked about this stallion before, Keela, who was a 1-run power sprinter, Southern California, I want to say 2004. He's an offspring of Numerous, who was a very underwhelming 7 furlong, I think offspring of Mr. Prospector. My point being elongated sprint, moisture in the racetrack. I think we could be in a very live wire on an 8-1 morning shot. Number 2, Trick My Ride, one of my favorite horses of the day. For a second, drawing the rail, number 1, Daddy's Pleasure, who is dropping down after trying Maiden Claimers 50, drops on 2 occasions, now drops in for 30. Here you have Numerous on the bottom side and Johannesburg on the top side. So that's moisture on top of moisture, making the 3rd career start. And for 3rd, number 7, another incident for Nick Zito, whose runner was very typical of Nick Zito's pattern in the debut. Broke from the rail, was 12th for much of the running, did end up beating a couple horses at nearly 90-1. Now this offspring of Sun King drops in for a tag. And talking about moisture on the racetrack, you have Jade Hunter on the bottom side, which it gets lost in the shuffle very much for Mr. Alan Paulson, but he was one of the first runners he had who in the slop beat Crypto Clearance down in South Florida in big stakes running. So I like the pedigrees in here, especially on my top pick, number 2, Trick My Ride, but it's 2-1-7 in the 3rd. Second.
Moving along to the 3rd at Churchill Downs. It's 6 furlongs. It is a claiming event. For 3 and up, which have never won 2 races, they're in for a claiming price of $7,500.
And one of the early scratches is the Deuce, which was my second pick. So I am remaining with the 7 and the 5, ladies and gentlemen. Swaylon Braylon gets my top pick. A horse here who the moisture in the racetrack I think will help. The lifetime career box for the, I think that's kind of redundant, lifetime career box is does not have any wet track races in it, but you have Orientate, the champion sprinter of 11 years ago, Song and a Prayer on the bottom side. This was this was a homebred from Flying Z Stable, their brilliant operation. I like this horse's running style, has good early speed, and you're thinking that, if he gets out early, this race could be over. My second pick was scratched out. That's the 2. The 2 is scratched out of here. Moving up to the 2nd spot is number 5, Superstar Darrell, ladies and gentlemen. This is an Indiana bred that in all 4 career starts to date was at Indiana Downs. Now ships in to take on winners for the first time after scoring a victory under Dylan Davis at Indiana Downs. Dylan Davis, a couple of winners yesterday, along with Sean Bridgman. Matter of fact, one of those mounts, Joe Rocco Jr., had been named the list. I think that was positively. But Superstar Darrell moves up here for Dylan Davis. Scratch the 2, 7-5 for me in the 3rd.
That's going to take us to the 4th race at Churchill Downs. It's scheduled for the turf at a
off
mile.
The turf.
It is off the turf.
Yes.
So it'd be a flat mile, correct?
Yes.
It's going to be a flat mile.
No, mile 16.
That's right. That's a mile surface. They can run. Yeah, they can run a mile and 16. It is a claiming event for 3 and up. Claiming price of $40,000.
A couple things here. We have a scratch of the 6 and the 12. The 1A is a main track only. The 11 would have room to run in this race if they should choose to. As I mentioned, these scratches come in early in the evening. As they come in now off the turf, to me, the main track only in here, I'm suspecting, like I said, I didn't get any word. I think that's one area where the game is a little rough. But Joe Rocco Jr. has the mount on the main track only, which is the 1A Beer Garden, which is a Ramsey Michael Maker outfit, who's 5-2 on the morning line. You could certainly see that horse getting bet very, very strongly. It will intrigue me to see if number 3, Stormy Going, who was my top pick, middle distance turf. I love it, but this horse has never run on an off going. And you have Gone West on the bottom side. If I was going to give the Dirt another chance after being 0 on 2 starts, it would be right here for number 3, Stormy Going, who will draw the inside on a 2-turn mile 16th dirt race now in race number 4. Fair Dinkum gets my next pick, and I got to suspect that Kelly Gorder, who has been going very, very well in the autumn, had that big night under the lights at Mountaineer Park. I got to think that they stay in here, and I think that they were quite happy to see it come up with the off going. And for 3rd, we'll take the MTO now with the scratch of my other 3rd, the 1A Beer Garden. So 3, 10, 1A, the 12 and the 6 have scratched out. We are off the turf on the races today at Churchill Downs.
Moving along to the 5th race at Churchill Downs at 6 furlongs. It is a claiming event for 3 and up, which have never won 2 races. They're in for a claiming price of $7,500.
Another one of my more favorite races. Number 2 is They Call Me Awesome. Corey Lanerie, who I think has 26 in his hip pocket at this November meet at Churchill Downs, has them out for Maggie Moss and Chris Richard. They already won yesterday. I mean, this is an operation that is white hot right now at Churchill Downs, and you saw them getting going good about 2 months ago. Now, this horse was claimed for $15,000 in the spring meet at Churchill Downs, has had only 1 start since May 1st, and I think that was just a tune-up in here. Corey Lanerie gets them out for the first time in the 6th career start. Gets the off racetrack for the first time. I'm not a big Tomlinson guy. I mean, I just don't have much use to use them. But gets a 4:14, and I think we've discussed this before. I think 470 is the high water mark, an odd number to top out at, but anytime you're in the 400s is good. But I wouldn't have really needed the numbers. He's by Awesome Again, who was one of the finest stallions in America to get a distance of ground, the moisture in the racetrack. And many people forget, even though that Skip Away rightfully was the horse of the year in 1998, Awesome Again was undefeated that year. Undefeated winner of the Breeders' Cup Classic. For second, number 2, Egyptian Warrior was a $35,000 claim for the Ramseys and Michael Maker. Interesting race most recently where we had never seen this type of running style. Sound familiar at Churchill Downs yesterday? We saw a horse yesterday who had never shown early speed, in New York, who had never shown early speed racing a mile, went right to the front and never looked back. I was like, boy, if you won this race and you thought it was going to be run this way, kudos to you. But Egyptian Warrior, going to be sneaky in here because I think the moisture. Here's an example, Jeff. 371 is the Tomlinson. For me, I'd give this horse an 800. His grandparents are Silver Deputy and Carson City.
Mud.
It's, I mean, moisture, it's unbelievable how good it is for the moisture. And for third, number 4, Transylvania Flash. Now, that being said, I mean, I know his given name isn't Lee Tomlinson, and I know he's passed away, but he just did a mathematical computation. He wasn't subjective about it at all. He just did the numbers and the races and assigned the numbers to it. But when you have Silver Deputy on top and Carson City on bottom, I mean, that's all wet on wet and quickness and short type races. I mean, the stallion is JBK, who I think is the horse who set a track record at Saratoga in the debut, was very, very fast. I think Ronnie Warner claimed him. But this is just an example. I mean, 371 is good. But my point always is I'd give him like 600 just to make the point that this horse could be really good on a slick racetrack.
And before we go to break, I'm drawing a blank on the horse's name in the Awesome Against Breeders' Cup that Frankie Dettori was riding. That
Swain.
Swain, that's it. There we go. I knew you'd come up with it, my friend. Swain in the Breeders' Cup went out to the outside fence. So we're going to take our first break. When we come back, races 6 through 10 at Churchill Downs. You'll get Anthony's selections. Please stay tuned. You're watching the OTB TV Network.
I'm Mark Cassano. Join me Saturday mornings at 10 for Down the Stretch. We'll inform, analyze, and welcome in the biggest names in racing. So join me Saturday mornings at 10 for Down the Stretch, right here on the OTB Television Network.
Hey race fans, head down to the all-new Clubhouse Racebook and get in the game. With live horse racing on more than 250 flat-screen TVs, state-of-the-art wagering terminals, fantastic food and drinks, an amazing Vegas-style atmosphere with seating for nearly 900 of your closest friends. Conveniently located at 711 Central Avenue, right off Exit 5 of I-90 in Albany, the Clubhouse Racebook is the better choice.
Wagering at CapitalOTBBet.com is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Capital Bet TV, the fastest and easiest online wagering experience where you can monitor 5 different tracks simultaneously. 2. Capital Bet Express. Its straightforward program layout and interactive handicapping information lets you build your wager quickly and efficiently. And 3. Capital Bet Pro, designed especially for the professional horse player. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
The Capital OTB Handicapping Challenge Series is back.
That's right, the 2013 Capital OTB Handicapping Challenge Series is back, and it's your chance to win thousands in cash and prizes, and a seat at the 2014 National Handicapping Championship in Las Vegas. This month, the Capital Cup on December 7th. So sign up today online at capitalotb.com or stop in at the Clubhouse Racebook. And don't forget our Showviver series, Capital OTB's online handicapping contest. I'm Seth Merrill. Join me weekdays at 10 for Racing Across America. We'll look at important races from around the country, get insight from top handicappers and analysts, and preview the upcoming week in racing. That's Racing Across America, weekdays at 10, right here on the OTB TV network.
Welcome back to the Handicappers Report. Thank you for joining us on this Friday morning. Before the break, Anthony gave you his selections for Churchill races 1 through 5. We're going to move along to race number 6. It is 6.5 furlongs. It is a maiden special weight event for 3 and up.
4, 10, 9, ladies and gentlemen. We have a scratch of the 3, Alert and Perky. Apparently not today. 4, 10, and 9. Late Night Lou. And you could guess that this is an offspring of Midnight Lou. And I'm sure we don't have to harken back too far to the 2007 Breeders' Cup, and the sea of slop down at Monmouth Park didn't really affect Midnight Lou, and that's understandable. I mean, the line for Midnight Lou, to understand, is Real Quiet, Quiet American, Mr. Prospector. So that's pretty good to take the moisture in the racetrack, and we go to the post for the 6th time with a 2nd place finish most recently over on the poly track at Keeneland. 4 2nd, going to the outside, number 10, Lincoln Law, making the 2nd career start after debuting at Saratoga 2012 for Todd Pletcher. Returns to the races after a long winter's nap this afternoon from the outside. Sean Bridgman had a couple of winners yesterday afternoon. He gets the mount today on this offspring of Lawyer Ron. For 3rd, right next door in the starting gate, number 9. Franklin, my thing of very little could allow me to pick Franklin on top, because this is the earmarking of a less well. You debut at 15-1, and Wyatt Offspring of Smart Strike was 15-1 in the career debut. I cannot guess. But this horse ran 2nd, and you see 8-5 on the morning line, and you have a pedigree with Deputy Minister on the bottom side. There, you know, this horse could be a keg of talent, and I'll be happy to let Franklin beat me, because one thing I'll say, I am thinking that Franklin is going to be odds-on in this field, ladies and gentlemen, the 2nd career start after a much better than odds performance in the debut. 4, 10, 9 in the 6th.
We're going to move along to the 7th race at Churchill Downs, originally scheduled for the turf. Off the turf now, it's 1 mile to maiden special weight event for 2-year-olds.
And we have a couple scratches here. This is... I never have a reason, but you have to admit, you have to think it's funny when the 1 MTO scratches out. That's the 11 is scratched out, who was the lone MTO. The 1A, who was the last of 4 on the also eligible. So the 3 also eligibles, 12, 13, and 14, have not scratched out yet. And as I said, there is going to be far more changes coming. These changes have been up for hours, ladies and gentlemen. And the MTO, the 1A, and Bill Mott last week had the first 2 we saw score in New York with the really quirky 4 most recent workouts. And then the next day at Churchill Downs, nearly $100 winner, first-time starter for Bill Mott. Now, the MTO in this race was a first-time starter for Bill Mott, who's by Medaglia d'Oro.
You'd think he'd want to run today.
He'd been so, my thought is obviously the hands of the Hall of Famer. He was probably going, if something went wrong, and he was going to scratch out, and being the only MTO and having some moisture in the racetrack might have been beneficial, but Mill Creek not ready to go this afternoon. But I was also thinking, Bill could have like 3 first-out winners in the matter of about 10 days, but that is not to be, as the MTO is scratched out. 8, 10, 1. Number 8 is Cove, making the 2nd career start for Ken McPeak, and I think all that's happened here is we're going to get hurt on the price, ladies and gentlemen, because I like this offspring of Artie Schiller almost no matter where they ran, because in the career debut at the 1 mile races at Ellis Park, which are the 1 3/4 turns, this horse was a favorite. Now, Ken McPeak is not known for having his horses cranked up for the debut, and ran 3rd behind an easy winner. Then came back at Keeneland, tried turf, which is very understandable for an offspring of Artie Schiller, a brilliant middle distance turf horse. Now makes the third career start, which I like. This is onto the dirt. I'm thinking that with that career debut with a Ken McPeak, took an Artie Schiller and stayed in and off the turf at Ellis Park, that we're going to do it also this afternoon, at least what I'm hoping. On the outside of the main body is the 10, my second pick. Phil Oliver sends out this runner for the second career start in offspring of Pleasantly Perfect. You would think that going 6 furlongs in the debut at 25-1, it was a nice warm-up. Did finish second, looking at 1/6 the price in the return to the races. Scheduled to break from the number 5 post position is number 1, Reach for a Kitten. They add blinkers this afternoon, the offspring of Kitten's Joy. See if they stay in this afternoon. 8-10-1 in the 7th.
That's going to take us to the 8th race at Churchill Downs, 6.5 furlongs. It's an allowance event. Fillies and mares 3 and up, which have never won a race, either maiden claiming or starter, or which have never won 2 races.
7-3-8, ladies and gentlemen, and they list right now no changes in the late daily double. Miffed is my top pick, and listed to ride is Joe Rocco Jr., so please stay tuned to that. 7 career starts, only been off the board once, and that was off of a freshening. That was running on Poly for the first time at Keeneland. That was the most recent effort, so we'll throw that aside. For a second, number 3 going out for Greg Foley, who's had a tremendous meet since they kicked this meet off, making the 3rd start after being off from June until September, and gets back to the dirt for the first time since the 2nd career start. Both career starts on dirt hit the board, including an impressive debut win at Churchill Downs. For a 3rd, number 8, Ascot Eye. They add Lasix for the first time in the 4th career start. 7-3-8 in the 8th.
That's going to take us to the 9th at Churchill Downs, 6.5 furlongs, maiden claiming event for 2-year-olds, in for a claiming price of $50,000 down to $45,000.
And 5-8-9 are my selections here, and using the same pedigree line Dahar as I used in the Dahar as I used in my 3rd pick. Dahar is a son of Awesome Again. It's number 5 is Go Go Sugar, who has hit the board in both career starts, finishing 3rd. In those, gets John Court back in the saddle, a nice debut on the Poly, followed that up by a very nice debut on the dirt, makes the 3rd career start, draws a nice post position in the middle of the field, and I was surprised to see 8-1 when this horse has already run very, very competitively at this tag. For 2nd, number 8, Baby Titan. They add blinkers for the 2nd career start. They drop in for a tag after a debut at Keeneland in one of the rare 7 furlongs, plus 184 feet, a non-effort at 9-5. And I mentioned this type of running line before. As much as I disdain the idea of betting a horse who ran brilliantly in the career debut, brilliantly being better than odds, the opposite is true. This horse was 9-5 in the debut. The comment in the racing form, off slow, shuffled back, didn't do an ounce of running. Well, this horse is 4.5-1. After tasting defeat at 9-5, makes it far more palatable to me. And the fact that Todd Pletcher is nearly 40% in the 2nd start, and a Colonel John, who he himself was successful on the non-conventional dirt, getting to the dirt should benefit. One thing I would say is you might think a little greater distance of ground would help. For 3rd, number 9, Ford's on Fire. Showed a little something in the debut, less in the 2nd career start, which was on the Poly track. Rooting now runs for a tag for the first time with Sean Bridgman, retaining the mount. 5-8-9 in the finale from Churchill Downs. And as I mentioned, we already have some changes, including scratches off the turf. I think I'm anticipating nearly twice as many scratches to be forthcoming.
That's going to take us to our next break. When we come back, we'll switch our attention to Aqueduct. You'll get my selection, so please stay tuned. You're watching the OTB TV Network.
The future of online betting is here, and only at the all-new CapitalOTBBet.com. CapitalOTBBet.com delivers a state-of-the-art wagering experience found nowhere else in horse racing. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
Each morning on the OTB TV network, you get the very best in horse racing programming. Weekdays begin with the Handicappers Report, where professional handicappers share their selections and analysis of the day's racing. Followed by Racing Across America, a daily conversation with racing personalities from around the country. Saturdays include Down the Stretch, where Mark Casano speaks with the biggest names in racing. And Sunday mornings, it's Loose on the Lead, where Steve Bick and I offer news and a unique lineup of weekly guests. All here on the OTB TV network.
Using CapitalOTBBet.com is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Simply log on with your username and password from the homepage. 2. Fund your Capital OTB account through our Easy Money, Green Dot, or Visa MasterCard options. And 3. Place your bet on one of our 3 easy-to-navigate wagering platforms, Capital Bet TV, Capital Bet Express, or Capital Bet Pro. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
Listen to what people are saying about the Clubhouse Racebook.
I've been coming here for well over 30 years to the OTB, and I think this is an outstanding facility. Probably comparable to something you'd see in Vegas. They have the big screens there, and then they have the auxiliary screens for, watching all the tracks. And the primary tracks of the day, they'll switch to the big screens, which is ideal for most of us race guys. We like to see the big races on the big screen. Well done.
This is Steve Beck. Join me Tuesday through Saturday here on OTB TV for At the Races, my Sirius XM daily news magazine of the thoroughbred industry. Handicapping, interviews, analysis, everything you could want. 6 a.m. OTB TV.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Handicappers Report. Time to turn our attention to the Big A this afternoon. 2-year-olds, maiden claimers in for 50 on the dirt racing the one-turn mile.
And they are on the turf today, according to the NYRA website. Turf is labeled as good, track is fast. I played amateur meteorologist this morning. I checked my Weather Channel Doppler radar. It looks like they maybe had a light shower, but it's kind of blown through. So hopefully they're going to stay in the grass. The opener is not on the grass, though, and I'm going to go 6, 2, and 5. The number 6, Mac Miller, going to be dropping down from maiden special weight after 4 starts. Going to add blinkers, and I'm picking him over the other Todd Pletcher horse in this race, the number 7, Village Warrior, who I think is going to take most of the money. He is 7-5 in the morning line. What I'm a little shaky about Village Warrior is that he's dropping down from maiden special weight after a really bad effort, after a pretty nice debut. So maybe the other part of the Todd Pletcher entry, the plain 6, the Mac Miller, maybe he's the one you want to look at. And again, they're going to be throwing blinkers on him. He's by Yes It's True. I have a Time for a Change Mary. You don't see that very often anymore, Anthony. But Time for a Change. He's been gone for a very long time.
Well, Time for a Change was the favorite in the hopeful 83.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But anyway, Mac Miller I'm going to put on top. I do like him over the other Todd Pletcher horse, the number 7 Village Warrior, who looks a little bit suspicious to me on the drop down. For second, I'm going to go to the inside to the number 2, Kid Cruz, a Billy Mott trainee here. Kid Cruz is dropping down from maiden special weight. Had a race over the turf course. This is a lemon drop kid, and a lot of these trainers like to throw these lemon drop kids onto the turf, and they have done very well. But you know what? Lemon drop kid, he made his mark on the dirt. So I think with a race under his belt, and again, as Anthony also often likes to use the term practice, it did kind of look like practice to me that day. They got a race under his belt. He should benefit from the experience and the conditioning. He's 8-1 in the morning line, draws the inside with Junior Alvarado. And I'm going to put him in the second spot. And for third, I'm going to go with the number 5, Hook'em. In 2 starts, he's been beaten 40-plus total lengths, and those were maiden special weight. He's dropping down to the 50,000 level for trainer Billy Turner. He's also going to get Lasix for the first time, and I noticed that the last time he ran, Billy Turner blew him out 2 days before a race. And sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. It obviously didn't work that day, and he has not worked him since he ran. Well, he has worked him one, very slow, 5/8 of a mile, but no works 2 days before the race. Sometimes that does work, and sometimes it doesn't. But I think maybe they're going to leave a little bit more in the tank. That 12-1 will throw him in the mix with that Lasix today. 6, 2, and 5 in the Aqueduct opener.
I'm sure for Time for a Change, he's the grandfather, but I think he was a son of Damascus who won his career debut when Angel Pena Jr. had the Phipps stable, and Angel Cordero rode him. And I think probably most people remember that he was the horse that finally beat Devil's Bag. But you're right, Time for a Change. Well, that is a name that rings a bell. On to the second half of the early daily double, as Jeff said, on the turf. 3-year-olds and up, claimers in for $16,000, capital B, non-winners at 2 lifetime, or the 3-year-olds racing a mile of 16th.
I went 8, 10, and 3 here. The number 8, River Boss, fits the second part of the condition. This is a 3-year-old with 3 lifetime wins. So he fits the second part of the condition, which is open to 3-year-olds with as many wins as they possibly could want. And River Boss is dropping down from 16,000, and I think that should be enough to get him into the winner's circle. He's been close for the $25,000 level his last 3. You're getting Javier Castellano aboard, who's ridden him his last 3 times. In fact, 3 starts back, he did win for $25,000 at Belmont Park. Last 2 have been kind of right there, but not, obviously this move down to 16,000 is the best thing for him. So let's put him on top. For a second, I'm going to go with the number 10, Catman Stu. Catman Stu finally broke his maiden in his last start, and that was the first time they dropped him down into the claiming ranks. I thought this son of Johannesburg early in his career, I thought when he moved over to the turf it would certainly help him, and it most certainly did. And dropping him finally down to maiden special to the state-bred maiden 25 was enough to get him into the winner's circle. He's 12-1 in the morning line, and maybe that was a light bulb moment, that he got to the winner's circle, he passed everybody, so maybe just confidence is up enough, and he's coming right back in for the basically never win 2 life for 16,000. That's the proper level for him. So at 12-1, let's put him in the second spot. And for third, I'm going to go with the number 3, Scorpion Boy. Scorpion Boy is ridden by Wilmer Garcia, who I forgot to mention yesterday, came back to ride. He's just had a series of injuries for this young apprentice rider. He started to be known last year for bringing home some big price winners, and then suffered some injuries that put him on the shelf for a long time. So it's good to see this young fella back in the saddle and riding at Aqueduct. But Scorpion Boy, 20-1 in the morning line. His New York debut didn't go so well. He had broke his maiden at Tampa in June for 12.5. They tried him in a sprint race for $16,000 level, and he just ran nice and evenly. He's the son of Scorpion, who I'm not real familiar with, who is the son of Seattle Slew. So maybe the stretch out will help him. This is the proper level he should be at. At 20-1, we know Wilmer's going to be riding his little butt off, so let's throw him in the mix. 8, 10, and 3 in the Belmont second race.
I think Scorpion was the winner the only year they ran the Jim Dandy as a Grade 1. He beat Congaree, who was about 1-5 that day. I think Mig had For Love of Money dueling Congaree, and Jerry Bailey, I think, had the mount on Scorpion, who ran in the middle of the racetrack. I think they ran the Jim Dandy as a Grade 1 year. Then it got back downgraded
so the
to
distance could be within his scope.
Yes, yes. On to the third, 3-year-olds and up. Claimers in for $12,500. Non-winners of 2 races a lifetime, going 6.
I'm going to go 1, 7, and 3 here. The number 1, Smoking Cat, going to wheel right back in 6 days after being overmatched on the 16th in the state-bred entry-level allowance race. 2 starts back. Trainer Gary Gullo snatched him from Funky Monkey Stable, who sacked him about a couple months ago. So he must have saw something he liked about this horse. Claimed him for $15,000. Obviously, the move up, was a little bit too much for him. But now he's back to his proper level. He's going to get Irad Ortiz aboard, who did finish second on him 2 starts back. So there's familiarity there. And Irad was the rider when he broke his maiden way back in May. So let's put 1 Smoking Cat on top. For second, I'll go out to the number 7, Crossgate. He's 7-5 in the morning line, and it does look like 1 Smoking Cat and Crossgate are the 2 best horses in the race. So, master of the obvious here. But it's a small field with some other horses that really are very, very unaccomplished. But, Crossgate at 7-5 has never won on the dirt. So 1 second and 4 starts, is being trained by the red-hot Rudy Rodriguez and is posted well and probably will going to get bet very, very well. I can't keep him out of the mix. I'm just thinking that 1 Smoking Cat from the inside post maybe be able to get the jump on him when the time comes, and we'll do it 1-7, and then for third I'm going to go to the number 3, Streets of Fire. Streets of Fire broke his maiden 3 starts back for the $16,000 level. Hasn't fared very well against winners in his 2 subsequent races, but you know what? Somebody's going to finish third in this race, so you might as well throw in a horse that might have a little bit of value at 10-1. 1-7-3 for me in the Aqueduct third.
On to the 4th races for New York State Press, 3-year-olds and up. Fillies and mares, maiden claimers in for 25. Scheduled for the turf at a mile.
Went 3, 7, and 10 here. The number 3, Amber Morning, 7-5 morning line favorite. Again, master of the obvious, but Amber Morning's dropping down from state-bred maiden special weight. We really didn't run poorly in any of her 4 career starts. It was a very close second. 3 starts back in Saratoga, was third last time out. So you know what? Phil Serpy's dropping this daughter Pure Prize in for the $25,000. She should be able to get the job done today. Maybe they don't want to carry a turf filly, a New York bred throughout the whole winter, but she should be able to get the job done today. For second, I'm going to go with the number 7, Music Maid. Music Maid is 15-1 in your morning line. Has Cece Lopez aboard, and I had her in my mix last time. and this was the first time CeCe Lopez was aboard her. And one thing you're going to get when CeCe rides this horse, you're going to get a wake-up call. This filly never picked her feet up in her first 2 career starts on the turf course, made in special weight. But you know what? CeCe woke her up a little bit. She made a little bit of a run around the turn, was no match for the winner, but at least she extended herself, and he got her to do something. And now trainer David Smith's putting this daughter in Visor back on the turf. So you're wondering, well, was it the dirt that was the wake-up call last time, or was it the fact that she had a rider aboard that got aggressive with her? And I'm thinking it was the CeCe Lopez factor. I think he got her to wake up a little bit. And, with Invasor, Menifee, I mean, she should be able to run on the turf. And was the horse that won on the lead yesterday that you're talking about at Eckwick, was that ridden by CeCe Lopez, pin number? Yeah. Yes. I mean, one thing you know about CeCe, love him or hate him.
20 to 1. Wow.
When he's on the lead, he's tough. He gets behind horses, he's a nightmare. But when he's on the lead,
and my
he's
thing,
tough.
like I said, when you looked at the past performances, there's, you had to go back to like a mile race in June years ago that, he showed that type of early energy, put him in the mix, and bombs away.
Yeah, he's going to get him involved. That's for sure. So I'm going to put Music Made in the second spot at 15 to 1. And for third, I'll go with the number 10, Rufus Ruth. 2 seconds and a third in the open $25,000 level. Coming to the state bred $25,000 level, you got to put her in the mix. 3, 7, and 10 in the Aqueduct fourth race.
To the fifth race, we have 3-year-olds and up. Claimers in for $12,500. Non-winners of 2 races in a lifetime. On the dirt, racing the mile.
I went 6, 5, and 3 here. The number 6 Puget Sound, this horse is just the best of a bad bunch. I mean, this is a never won 2 lifetime. And here's the number of starts for, the 1 horse, 18 starts. The 2 horse, 13 starts. The 3 has 9. The 4 has 18. The 5 has 24 starts. Puget Sound only has 8 starts. Sky Colors, the 7, has 20. And 12 for the 8 horse. So this is obviously a very, very bad bunch. Puget Sound, 3rd start since returning from a layoff. This is the horse they once tried in a stake race. Obviously overmatched. David Jacobson, David Cohen, 8 to 5. Like I said, it's probably just the best of a bad bunch in here. For second, I'll go with the number 5, Schertzer. Schertzer is 1 for 24 lifetime and is 5 to 2 in the morning line. And in fact, is 0 for 12 in 2013, but does have 2 seconds. And one of those seconds was 2 back and an off the turfer. So, again, this is not an outstanding field. I'm going to have to put that one in the second spot. For third, the number 3, He Has Charm. He Has Charm couldn't win for $7,500, never won 2 life at Finger Lakes. But you know what? He can hit the board in this race. So let's put him in the third spot. 6, 5, and 3 in the Aqueduct 5th race.
We'll take a quick break. When we come back, second half of today's card from the Big A.
I'm Steve Beck.
And I'm Seth Merrill.
Together, we're loose on the lead on Capital OTB, Sundays at 10 a.m. Why should they watch, Seth?
Sit down on Sunday, have a bagel, get some great racing conversation.
Cream cheese only, no jelly. Sundays, 10 a.m., loose on the lead, Capital OTB.
The Capital OTB Handicapping Challenge Series is back. That's right, the 2013 Capital OTB Handicapping Challenge Series is back, and it's your chance to win thousands in cash and prizes and a seat at the 2014 National Handicapping Championship in Las Vegas. This month, the Capital Cup on December 7th. So sign up today online at capitalotb.com or stop in at the Clubhouse Racebook. And don't forget our Showviver series, Capital OTB's online handicapping contest.
The future of online betting is here, and only at the all-new CapitalOTBBet.com. With a newly designed and engineered internet wagering platform, enhanced video streaming, additional funding options, and 3 new individual wagering opportunities, CapitalOTBBet.com delivers a state-of-the-art wagering experience found nowhere else in horse racing. Combine that with our all-new mobile website. You have 2 of the most powerful, innovative, and advanced wagering platforms available today. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
Hey, race fans, head down to the all-new Clubhouse Racebook and get in the game. With live horse racing on more than 250 flat-screen TVs, state-of-the-art wagering terminals, fantastic food and drinks, an amazing Vegas-style atmosphere with seating for nearly 900 of your closest friends. Conveniently located at 711 Central Avenue, right off Exit 5 of I-90 in Albany, the Clubhouse Racebook is the better choice.
I'm Mark Cassano. Join me Saturday mornings at 10 for Down the Stretch. We'll inform, analyze, and welcome in the biggest names in racing. So join me Saturday mornings at 10 for Down the Stretch, right here on the OTB Television Network.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, up to race number 6 this afternoon at the Big A. And as of this moment on the turf, we have juvenile state breds. Maiden claimers in for 35, on the dirt going 6.
I'm going to go 5, 10, and 6 here. And if you watch the Handicappers Report when I'm on, you know I do like to go with first-time starters, especially in the maiden claiming ranks. So I'm going to go the number 5, Full Pads. This one is bred to be quick by Posse out of a Red Ransom mare. Trained by Alan Goldberg, who they train over at their own private training center. 5-1 in the morning line, has apprentice Manny Esquivel on. I think this one just looks sneaky enough to me to be able to put on top at 5-1. I didn't see anything in here that's run that I was overly excited about. So again, I have a tendency to go with these first-time starters, especially in these maiden claiming ranks. And Full Pads, to me, with Posse on top as the sire, could be a horse that could get it done first time out. For second, I went with the number 10, Mabry's Challenge. Mabry's Challenge is dropping down from state bred maiden special weight, where he spent his 3 races of his lifetime on the turf. I don't know enough about Mabry's Boy, his sire, to know if he's a turf sire or not. He does have more than ready on the bottom. Mabry's Boy was a broad brush, which was dirt. They ran all right on the turf. But you know what? Just the fact that he's dropping down from the maiden special weight into the $35,000 ranks. Trainer George Weaver does know what he's doing and attracted Javier Castellano aboard. I'm going to put him in the second spot. And for third, I'm going to go back to another first-time starter, the number 6, Electric Currency. I think this is one of them board-watching races. This is a first-time starter out of Exchange Rate, who we all like here on the show. Is a good middle-distance horse. This is 6 furlongs, but it's definitely in their scope to win first time out. Trained by Mike Hushin, who's 22% with first-time starters. Got Manuel Franco, another good young apprentice on board. The works are okay, not outstanding. Full Pads, my top choice is 5-1. My third choice is Electric Currency, another first-time starter, 6-1. Anthony, I think this is one of them board-watching things. You talked about the first-time starter for Ian Wilkes yesterday at Churchill Downs that got bet down. So this is one of them you'll watch the board. But just reading off the paper with Posse on top, I'm going to put Full Pads in the top position. But again, watch that number 6, Electric Currency. Mike Hushin very well with first-time starters. 5, 10, and 6 in the Aqueduct 6th race.
On to the 7th, open company, 3-year-olds and up, fillies and mares, optional claimers in for 25 starter. Allowance for 25 scheduled on the turf for a mile.
1, 5, and 2 here. The number 1, Sally's Dream, really looks like she stands over this field. She should win. She's been running her eyeballs out in state-bred stake races. 2 starts back, she was second to Effie Trinket, who last week went out to Churchill Downs and won the, was it Mrs. Revere, correct, Anthony? Effie Trinket?
Runner-up.
No, she won it. Effie Trinket won it.
Oh.
And again, then was second to Deanne Allen's Kitten in another stake race. So again, if she fits this condition, because she has run for a claiming price of $25,000 or less, and then she got really, really good. So this starter optional claiming race just hits her right between the eyes. Couldn't get past Sally's Dream on top. For second, I'm going to go with a Maryland Invader, the number 5 Grant Park. See if I can get a decent little exacta. Grant Park is trained by my good friend Ann Merriman, who stabled very close to at Pimlico. In fact, when I was a jockey, we teamed up to win the Ben Cohen Stakes on a horse named Gold Miner's Dream. Ann Merriman does a very good job. She's been training for a very, very long time. And Grant Park's a very solid allowance turf performer in the Mid-Atlantic region. And I think the allowance races on the turf in the Mid-Atlantic region are a little bit better than the allowance races that are on the dirt. I'm a little suspicious of horses that run allowances on the dirt and come to the big circuits. But the turf races are a little bit saltier down the Mid-Atlantic region. You get a lot of nice trainers down there that have a lot of good turf performers. They're always knocking heads, regardless if they're at Delaware, Penn National, Laurel, Pimlico. And Grant Park has been very, very solid. 2 starts back, won an optional claiming allowance race at Laurel Park. So let's put Grant Park in the second spot. And for third, I'm going to go with the number 2, Lady Lunar's Luck. This is another New York bred. She's not Sally's Dream right now, but she's good enough to be on the board. She's been competing in state-bred stake races, and again, she fits this condition because she has run for $25,000 or less. So it's kind of a fun condition for horses to run, and they're coming from all over the place. 1, 5, and 2 in the Aqueduct 7th race.
Was Ben Cohen one of the owners of Pimlico?
Yes, he was.
Before
Very
Mr.
good, Anthony.
Yeah.
Boy, you're on the money. He
Yeah.
was one of the former owners of
Yeah.
Pimlico.
Yeah.
And I remember when we won the race.
Mr. DeFrancis bought it from them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And he was quite an elderly man at the time. And he presented us with a trophy. And
Nice.
It was nice.
Nice. On to the feature this afternoon, rarely run at 7.5 furlongs. It's New York State breds, 2-year-olds, non-winners of one other than.
And 7, 4, and 3 here. Again, master of the obvious. I went to, number 7, Samrot, trained by Rick Violet. Broke his maiden at first asking, the son of Noble Causeway. And the interesting was he did that without Lasix. And he's going to be getting Lasix today. And, he just trounced that field. He won quite easily. What I thought was interesting, Anthony, is that in the interim, they've put a mile work into this horse, so maybe they're looking farther down the road. Was it a blazing mile? No, it was a mile in 1:47 and 1 minute and 47. So it wasn't a blazing mile, but you know what? A nice big leg stretcher for him. Maybe this horse, they have visions of him eventually going 2 turns. But from that outside post, I don't think he's going to need to have the lead. And again, getting Lasix today, he didn't have it last time out. So let's put Samrat on top. For second, I'm going to go with the number 4, Sue, who just has had a very nice progression from his debut to his maiden breaker in his second spot, by Awesome Again, who we talked about earlier in the show. He made his debut at 6 furlongs, was a decent third. Then they stretched him out to a mile. He got up in time and won by a neck. Again, this is now this one's 7.5 furlongs, and he eventually might want more ground, being a son of Awesome Again. But I think he's good enough. He's 4-1 the morning line. Again, I like that natural progression he's been showing. Let's put him in the second spot. For third, I'm going to go with the number 3, Sandcat. Sandcat broke his maiden at first asking way back on my birthday, August 22nd, for John Kimmel. What I like about that is, John's not a trainer who really has him cranked up to win first time out. So when they win first time out, that shows they do have some natural ability. This is a son of the Wildcat, so I don't know if the extra distance is in his favor, but maybe he can hang on for a share. So let's go 7, 4, and 3 in the Aqueduct race, and maybe we'll see with Samrot's going to be a nice New York bred in the future.
In the finale, 3-year-olds and up, fillies and mares, claimers in for $12,500, non-winners to 2 lifetime, or for 3-year-olds on the turf, going a mile.
I went 3, 6, and 8 here. The number 3, Tracy's Bell, another John Kimmel horse. This horse is 15-1 in your morning line. When she broke her maiden 2 starts back, she was almost 11-1. I picked her that day because I just said to myself, there has to be a reason that John Kimmel has this filly in his barn, because her career debut at Finger Lakes in July was just a non-effort. She didn't even get a buyer number. She got beat 21 lengths that day. I just had to think for some reason John Kimmel had this filly in his barn. She rewarded me that day at a nice price and won. That was maiden $20,000. And then, actually, I saw John at the October sale at Fazig-Tipton. I was telling him that I actually picked her that day. And he told me that when he got the filly, she just had bad feet. And they've been working on her feet. She came back subsequently after that and got trounced in a 15,000 never won 2 life on the dirt. Watching that race, this is a filly never got involved. Maybe the feet were bothering her a little bit. Now they're going to put her on the turf. So I think at 15-1, this is a never win 2 life for 12.5. Let's throw her on top. Thinking maybe the turf course will be a little more kinder to those feet. The number 6, La Strada, is my second choice, dropping down from 40,000. I'm going to be adding blinkers. Manny Esquivel aboard. I have to throw that one in the mix. For third, I'm going to go with the number 8, Kate is a 10. My top 3 choices all fit the first part of this condition, where they are eligible for the never win 2 race portion of it. Kate is a 10. She's been only 1 career win in 9 starts, but she has run well, turf or dirt. In fact, she broke her maiden on the turf, and then she runs, she's just versatile enough. And again, a 4-1, let's throw her in the mix for Mark Henning, Luis Saez. Tracy's Bell, 6 and 8 in the Aqueduct 9th race.
And that wraps up our look at the Big A this afternoon. Plenty of racing action from around the country on this Friday afternoon. Let's take a look at the schedule on TV 12, kicking off with Finger Lakes at 12:15, followed by the Big A, then Laurel, Churchill Downs, Hollywood Park, the Fairgrounds, ladies and gentlemen, as it is opening day this afternoon at the Fairgrounds. Plenty of 6 furlong races. I took a look at their card. Many Louisiana breds on board this afternoon, but getting a little head start before what has often been their traditional opening day on Thanksgiving Day. You have Penn National, Saratoga Racino, Yonkers, Woodbine, and then Australia A and Australia B. And by the way, if you happen to be watching Australia Racing at 1:07 a.m. last night, an indefinite weather delay, they lost me. And the reason I noted is how often watching late night racing, it is pristine looking on my television. And yesterday, and I do forget if it was A or B, but the rains came and racing was suspended, and I had to go. I was like, I wasn't going to watch the rain come down. I could watch the rain come down outside my own window, but indefinite suspension. I don't know if they resumed racing at Australia. As I said, I went. I had 2 more hours of work to do, and Australia Racing wasn't apparently going to be along for the ride with me. Also, ladies and gentlemen, if you missed any of the selections from Jeff or myself, go to capitalotb.com, click on the Handicappers Report, and get all of today's selections. Also, capitalotbbet.com, our latest state-of-the-art wagering platform, easiest and best way to play this game. You have live streaming video, also race replays. Please sign up now. Also, in just a couple of moments, our colleague Seth Merrill will be aboard for Racing Across America. And as Johnny Carson would have said many moons ago, I did not know that, but apparently they are going to settle the Eclipse Award in the steeplechase game at the Colonial Cup. Joe Clancy will be aboard Racing Across America. Take a closer look at that. Brian Spencer from the Fairgrounds, as I said, today is opening day at the Fairgrounds for their very, very distinguished wintertime meet. And then Don Stevens, Delta Downs, as the Delta Jackpot is soon to be up. And one thing about the Delta Jackpot, I've always wondered if that was one of the contributing factors to the Churchill Downs people changing the rules, because, you know, the good people at Delta Downs worked arduously to get it at graded stakes, and it always had the money, and basically there was always a spot in the Kentucky Derby under the old rules of the Delta Jackpot winner. Under the new rules, not so fast, my friend. Ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up the Handicappers Report. Up next, Seth Merrill, Racing Across America.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.